I think every Octavia Spencer movie should have her doing something crazy to a late 70s pop hit. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about the 2019 horror film, Ma. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, ranked lists, and trailer reactions. All my reviews include a breakdown of the pros and cons of the movie, my rating, and some tailored film recommendations, so be sure to watch through to the end of this video for all of that extra content. Ma stars Octavia Spencer, Diana Silvers, Corey Fogelmanis, and McKaley Miller, and was directed by Tate Taylor. It tells the story of Maggie, played by Diana Silvers, who has recently moved to a small town in Ohio. She quickly befriends several other teens, and they meet the lonely middle-aged Sue Ann, played by Octavia Spencer, who agrees to let them party in her basement. Sue Ann's intentions and motives, however, aren't what they seem. You know how sometimes you can watch the trailer for a movie and know that despite looking interesting, the film is going to disappoint you? Yet, even with that knowledge, you still hold out hope that the movie's going to surprise you and be good? Ma's exactly that type of movie. The trailer had this weird, sort of stupid, generic vibe to it, but something about seeing Octavia Spencer star in a horror movie was enough to entice me and trick my brain into thinking this one had a shot. There's no denying it. Ma is an absolute mess of a movie. It's mildly enjoyable at times, and it does have a few things going for it, but it's such a sloppily executed film. The basic premise had some potential. It did seem a tad bit stupid, but it was kinda unique at least. But whatever potential this movie had was squandered by some pretty bad writing. Right from the start, there are some really unbelievable aspects to the plot. Now I know what you're thinking. It's a horror movie. You expect this to be realistic? The horror moments? No, not necessarily. But the character setups? Yeah. Our main teen character, Maggie, is introduced as a kinda awkward, kinda standoffish new kid in school, yet she's immediately fully accepted into the popular kid group. It's a minor thing and not really relevant to the horror plot, but it just seemed unlikely. Weirdly convenient plot points like that were sprinkled throughout this film, but easily the most frustrating part of the writing was how disjointed it felt. You can almost write off strange or dumb character choices in a horror movie like this, but it's impossible to overlook poor structure in a film. It's obvious that the writers had a lot of interesting ideas that could have been pretty cool given enough time to explore them. Unfortunately, this felt like an early draft of a script, crammed with half-baked ideas that don't quite fit together. There are several characters who very briefly make an appearance early in the film, are promptly forgotten by the story, and us, only to come back late in the movie as if they're important or relevant. It's the film's attempt at being twisty, but unfortunately the story wasn't developed enough to have earned that, or even to have come close to providing any sort of payoff story-wise regarding the twists. What this film does have going for it, though, is Octavia Spencer. She's all in here. Despite the jumbled mess of a film surrounding her, she gave 110% and is really great as the unstable and unsettling Sue Ann. She sells the creepy, menacing aspects of her character, but also manages to make you feel almost empathetic for her, too. She's scary, crazy, and even a bit funny, and is definitely the best part of this movie. Ma is a movie that suffers from having too many ideas. It takes the broad and shallow approach to its story, which really hurts it in the end. The teen party premise was inherently going to be a little dumb, but if the writers had tightened the script up and chosen to focus on only one or two of their ideas in greater detail, they could have had a really unique psychological story. Throw Octavia Spencer into the mix, and this could have been the surprise horror movie that I had hoped it might be. Alright, let's talk about the pros and cons. The biggest pro of this film is Octavia Spencer. It would be easy for an actor of her caliber to phone it in on a mediocre horror film like this, but she gives it her all. Her effort and intensity far exceed the quality of this movie. She manages to bring a certain degree of nuance to a sloppily written character, and most definitely prevents this film from falling below the mediocre level. On the con side, the first issue is the overabundance of ideas written into this plot. The premise is somewhat unique, but the story becomes an unnecessarily overcomplicated mishmash of partially thought out ideas. Characters come and go without any real significance. Flashbacks hint at a potentially interesting origin story, but then do absolutely nothing interesting with that information. Story threads are randomly started halfway through the movie and then abruptly dropped. If the writers had chosen one or two of their ideas and expanded on them, this could have been a fairly effective psychological horror movie. But the excessively shallow exploration of the half dozen major ideas resulted in an equally excessively shallow film. Con number 2 expands on the first con, and could probably be best summarized simply as bad writing. The character choices were expectedly dumb, but the jumbled nature of those choices was confounding. Characters and the story itself feel very poorly developed, and the whole script feels like an early draft more so than that of a completed and theatrically released film. The actors, especially Octavia Spencer, did what they could with the material they were given, but no number of solid performances could save this film from its poor structure. I'm gonna give Ma 2.5 out of 5 paws. It's very poorly written and frustratingly devoid of any unique voice, but Octavia Spencer's creepy performance and the general intrigue of the plot prevents this from being a total letdown. I would recommend Ma to fans of recent teen horror films. If Blumhouse-produced technology-laden horror is something you enjoy, then I imagine this movie will be equally as enjoyable, and perhaps even more so given the quality of Octavia Spencer's performance. If you liked Ma, I've got an interesting mix of movies to recommend. If it was Octavia Spencer's intensely creepy caring performance that won you over, be sure to watch Misery for another over-enthusiastic host. If the flashback story and origins of Sue Ann were what intrigued you, check out Carrie to see a character who deals with her circumstances in a more heated way. If it's just the general throwaway teen horror vibe that you enjoyed, check out any number of other recent Blumhouse horror movies like Truth or Dare to see more iffy writing and stupid character choices as per modern horror norms. Alright, a couple questions for you guys. Number 1. Have you seen Ma? If so, what'd you think of it? And number 2, what movie features your favorite unexpectedly unstable antagonist? Be sure to leave your answers in the comments below so we can get a discussion going. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insight, or information out of this review, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it so you can see more videos like this. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.